Hi, friend. This is Jeremy Tank, and if you are watching this, I am your brand guy. I am getting on here. This is going to be a short video today because I've done a whole bunch of really long videos, but I really just wanted to share something a little bit different today. And I'm sitting on my couch with a cat in my lap, so I'm like, yeah, no better time than to go ahead and just start sharing this stuff. So what I wanted to share today is something that I was introduced to in design school. I've got an undergrad and a graduate degree in design, so it's something that got touched on a few times, and actually, as I went back and started studying the hypnosis stuff, I learned a different angle of it, and I really think it helps explain why sometimes it's difficult to see our own success, our own steps, our own movement in life. And what I want to talk about it today is called Gestalt Psychology, or Gestalt design is the way that I learned it, and it's taking the elements of design and understanding how the brain perceives those elements in context that lends meaning and stability and credibility to it. If you're laying out an ad or a Facebook picture or something like that, you've got elements that you can work with. And if you work in a program like Photoshop or Canva online, it's a great free one if you want to do some easy layouts just for your business getting started. They're fantastic, and it's a free starting service, Canva. When you're doing these things, you have different elements that you can move around: pictures and typefaces, colors, lines, all those sorts of things. But there is an underlying psychology in how those things work, and Gestalt psychology sort of explains, or if it doesn't explain it, it wraps some rules kind of around the stuff so that you can kind of understand how things work together. And graphic designers utilize these rules, and actually designers of any kind, I would say, utilize these rules in ways that facilitate the goal that they are trying to accomplish with whatever it is they're trying to design. So I'm going to share with them right now, and I've got them on a little note card so I'm not just blathering on here. So the rules, or the foundations, the guidelines, the theories, the ideas here. So the first one is similarity, and it's that the eye builds relationships between similar objects. And when we're thinking of psychology, your brain builds relationships between similar objects, and it starts to kind of group them together. And the further back you get from something, your mind actually creates more unity between those things. And so actually the next idea here is continuity. And continuity is the eye follows shapes, paths, and lines to see a continuous flow rather than distinct shapes or elements. And when you apply that to the psychology of what you're doing, your mind follows what it sees out there. Your mind follows the way other trends are going, the way it creates a continuous flow. And when your clients are working with you, they see a continuous flow. If they don't find a continuous flow, it causes their brain to react. It burns too many calories, and so it slows them down. The next one, closure. The eyes see complete shapes and fill in the gaps. So, if you have a dotted line, if you've seen dotted lines like you're supposed to cut a coupon out and you've got a dotted line there, well, the eye, the mind, sees that as one solid line, and it just happens to be dotted. And when we apply that mentally to other things, if you put the patchwork, the framework around certain ideas, certain contexts, they can move forward, and people see it as one cohesive thing. Proximity. Simple shapes together are perceived as more complex images. It's the same way with social media, honestly. People will see you on social media in different places, and they begin to form an image of who you are based on what you are sharing in these little snippets. And so actually, and the closer you can put the snippets together, the more that they can start to draw that picture or create a story in their own heads about why you're saying these things and what you're actually trying to do. The next one is the figure or ground, and that's really just kind of stating that the eye isolates shapes from backgrounds. And It's true, because we tend to make a single focus when we think, through psychology here, we tend to create a singular focus and put other things in the background. It's really hard. The people used to talk about multitasking. Oh, you want to be a multitasker. But what we found is multitasking actually makes people less productive. It is less efficient. And that with people concentrate on a single point within their mind and have focus, that everything else tends to fall into the background. So the figure of the ground, our mind isolates what we're trying to concentrate on from the background so that it can be the focus. The next one, the last one, is symmetry and order. If the design is not balanced and complete, the user will spend time trying to find a big picture. And that's still true, with your business, with your mind, as you're trying to do things. If something is left undone, you fill in the remaining pieces. Your mind fills in the remaining pieces of the story. And that's not necessarily you, but if you are not sharing precisely exactly what you do with your audience, with your customers, their brains will fill in the rest of the story. And I just have one more little note here. Kind of when we wrap all these things together, it's really how the brain functions. I learned them in context of design, in context of graphic design, in context of creating pieces that help people see what they need to read in the proper order, reinforce that with a picture that comes to their attention when it needs to come to their attention, and leave off with a logo, a phone number, a call to action that is an appropriate place. All of these things are, it's funny, after my master's degree, I said all of this stuff is just manipulation. It is manipulation of controlling how I get others to perceive what I show them in a certain order, to tell a certain story, to have a certain feeling reinforced. And when I was digging into the psychology, Gestalt Psychology, I was really fascinated because the definition here that I'm reading, the idea of human perception is not just about seeing what is actually present in the world, mostly because much of what we perceive is highly influenced by our motivations and expectations. And what I've learned is actually it's not just highly influenced by our motivations and expectations. The senses that we use to bring in any information are sensing electrical waves. Everything around us is sort of like these vibrating waves, atoms and molecules and radio waves and lights and all these things. They occur in a functional shape when it hits our outside world, and that is then brought inside our world through the eyes, through the ears, through the mouth, the nose, the touch. And when it is brought inside our world, it is then compared with every motivation, every expectation, every memory, every sociologically programmed thing that we're supposed to do as people, and it changes the outside to the inside. We honestly we miss a lot of what the world is happening in the outside world, and that we can't actually perceive everything that's happening outside of us. Our brain will not allow it. It is processed in terms of the things we have learned, do know, can think about. So it's one of the reasons that as you're building your business, as you're doing these things, you can't actually see the steps that you're in. It's like a tooth can't taste itself. A finger doesn't touch itself. It touches whatever, I sense the sensation of whatever's touching it, but I don't know what the finger itself feels like. The eye doesn't see itself. This is sort of the idea here. Like there is some, and this is a lot of Alan Watts. Oh, I love him. Sort of like Zen Buddhist kind of thinking about things. It's so very, if a tree falls in the woods, does it make a sound? Yes or no? Now, if a tree falls in the woods and no one is around, there's no sound, because there's no ear to hear the vibrations through the air that the tree crashing causes. But the tree causes waves of vibration, sound vibration, so it's just who perceives it. Well, that's sort of the idea here with this Gestalt psychology stuff, is that the whole of you is different than the sum of the parts, but the brain can only function seeing patterns within it and seeing patterns outside of itself. It can't be the thing and analyze the thing at the same time, which is the reason that, I'm here to help you guys with your brand. I'm here to help you think through your story, think through the words and the pictures that you're using to share with the outside world what you're doing, because your brain is going to create these connections, and a lot of the connections that you're creating, a lot of the stories that you will tell yourself are based in your history, based in your past, based in your feelings, based on your experiences, your motivations, and it taints the true nature of the world. And I'm actually coming to believe more and more that nobody can know the true nature of the world, because the whole is different than the sum of its parts, and all we get are these different pieces and parts. And the brain will connect with the similarity, the continuity. The brain creates closure. The brain understands the stories in terms of the proximity of the different data points of what we're trying to share, the different words that we say. It creates a contrast between the foreground, the background, whatever we need to concentrate on, and then it tries to look for a symmetry and order out of it. Now, it takes a lot of training to do that yourself, and that's sort of the training of a designer or a psychologist. And it just so happens that I am a master designer, and I'm learning a little bit more about psychology through the hypnosis studying and the hypnosis training, and then a little bit more through just learning about neuroscience and quantum science and all that, because it seems like all of these things are clashing together right now and creating this space where we can understand the mind, where we can understand where we want to go and sort of program it to explore and explode potential. And that's really exciting to me. So that's what I really just wanted to share with you today. Just a short one. Thanks for watching. And this has been all about Gestalt psychology, and the different principles, I guess, of Gestalt. You can apply it in design and graphic design, but when you actually apply it to the mind and start recognizing how you form these patterns in perception, then you can start kind of branching out and doing something a little different. And that's kind of where I am right now, is understanding, okay, the context of how my mind sees synchronicity, how my mind sees, I've got to look at my notes again, continuity, closure, proximity. When I learn about your life, when I help you through, when I help you through my process, Manifest Design is a branding process to help you find the right words and the right pictures to represent yourself, create a logo, create the business that you want, the life that you want. It's really understanding a lot of these Gestalt theories in terms of subconscious programming and getting blocks from your life that you don't even know are there kind of out of the way, so that you can be your true self, authentic self, share it with the world. It is an 8-session program that talks all about your vision, your customers, your life, your goals, your competition, creating a unique selling point, a value proposition, and then anchoring that all in with hypnosis. If you want to know more about that, just comment Manifest Design down below. And I hope this little bit about Gestalt psychology, I hope it's helped you. If you remember one thing, remember that the whole is different than the sum of its parts. Pretty much on every level, the whole is different than the sum of its parts. The cells in your body atoms get together to make molecules. Molecules get together, they make cells. Cells get together and make organs and tissues. And you are the sum of those parts, but you are not those parts. So there's always a bigger picture, and it looks different than the sum of each of the different pieces. So that's a little bit about a bunch of stuff today. And thank you so much. And please like, share, comment, do what you will, and I will see you guys later. Take care. Bye.